our goal for him to take the seat of somebody who can become the former governor. So he's from the lowlands, and I don't know if we're the highlands, the midlands. I drink both lowlands and midlands and highland scotch, but I have no idea in South Carolina because I'm from up there and not down here. But Joe is running for us. We have a guy who I know we all love dearly, Ralph Norman, who he was a South Carolina congressman with. I don't know what the relationship is that he snuggled up to Ralph, but nobody really wants to snuggle up to Ralph. And his voting record stands for itself. There are some votes in Congress which are automatic. You have to vote for this and have to vote for this. So you'll find confluence for congressmen on both sides. They'll vote for this means and this and this and this. But he differed with Ralph Norman 70% of the time. And those were on substantive votes. Those are on the real votes about voters' rights, whatever came in front of him. The automatic things like budget renewals and whatever, he voted with him. That's the kind of person we need representing us. It's been a while since we had a Democrat in office, but if we want to sustain a losing attitude, so what do we got? We got a candidate for the primary. He can use your vote, he can use your money. Now, all of you probably have not cashed your stimulus check, so just endorse it to Joe Cunningham for governor, and he'll take your stimulus check. If not, go on Act Blue. You've got a fundraising card in there with his report card. Go on Act Blue. It's very painless to just donate $25 or send a check. But the candidates don't beg like I do. So I'm begging for him. You remember I begged for Jamie, and we got a good amount of money. So it's Joe's turn to tell you about himself and to win you over, because he needs your vote in June, and to show you the quality of the state. There are 4 Tuesdays in June, and for whatever reason, they can't figure out what day the primary is. They got a 1 in 4 chance. But so far, somewhere in June on Tuesday, don't make any appointments, you're gonna have to vote somewhere, somehow. Joe, take it away.
Joel, thank you so much. I'm going to attempt to do this without the microphone. If y'all can hear me in the back, or does it even matter? You can hear me? Okay, that's good. That's good. Hey, it's great to be in Sun City. Thank you all so much for having me. I love this community already. It's beautiful. I put in my application. They said they're going to process it in about 16 years. So, but seriously, thank you all for coming out. You know, my dad always told me the most important thing you can give somebody is your time. And y'all could be anywhere with anyone tonight, but y'all chose to be here tonight, sharing your time with me. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. Many of you I'm meeting for the very first time, so I want to give you a little bit of background of who I am. Then I'm going to tell you what I stand for, why I'm running, and how we're going to win in 2022. Well, I guess I'll first start off by telling you, my name's Joe Cunningham, and I'm running to be your next governor here in South Carolina. You know, like a lot of you all, I'm sorry if I'm shouting at you, Janice. Like a lot of you all, I didn't grow up in South Carolina. I grew up in a very rural area of western Kentucky. I grew up the youngest of 5 boys to a mother who's still sane, by the way. She started her own small business, a publishing company, from our very own kitchen table. And my dad is a Vietnam veteran, came back and started practicing law, was a public defender, was later elected to be on the bench. I came to Charleston over 20 years ago to go to college. Eventually got my degree in ocean engineering and practiced engineering for a number of years until the economy crashed back in 2008. And I was laid off. I tell people I got another chance to do something else. So I took out student loans. I went to law school, got my law degree, and practiced construction law in Charleston for about 5 years. Until 2016, Donald Trump's election. I had never ran for office before. But something about that election stirred something in me. You know, I thought about as in all of us, right? I thought about all the divisiveness, you know, the rhetoric, everything that was normalized with him. And I thought about that behavior being transposed onto my nieces, 6, 7 years old. All the things that little boys at school would tell them because the president said it, and it was okay. I knew we were better than that as a country, so I announced my run for Congress because I wanted change. And when I announced my run for Congress in the 1st Congressional District, people said, "Are you crazy?" A Democrat had not won that district in 40 years. It was tailor-made, gerrymandered for Republicans. I didn't have name ID, I didn't have any money, but I knew I wanted to do something about it. And so we went to every single corner of the district, talked to Democrats, Republicans, independents. We took our message everywhere and began changing the hearts and minds of people in the Low Country. And on election night in 2018, the experts gave us a 9% chance of winning. Less than 10% chance of winning. And we ended up being the biggest upset in the entire country that night. Woo! Woo! Now, fast forward, for the last 2 years, I've had the honor of representing the 1st District in Congress. And I've had the honor of being ranked one of the most bipartisan and effective members of Congress. I had 2 of my bills make it through a divided Congress and get signed into law by President Trump. And despite all that, Republicans poured millions of dollars into our campaign in 2020. The president tweeted at me, tweeted support of my opponent, came to our district to campaign against me. And despite him winning our district by over 6 points, I only lost by 1 point. 15,000 people in the 1st Congressional District went into the voting booth and voted for Donald Trump and Joe Cunningham. I tell you that because that's the kind of crossover support that is needed for a Democrat to win statewide here in South Carolina. And look, after that loss in 2020, I thought about running for the seat again, but I couldn't ignore all the chaos that was coming out of Columbia during this time. Because during the middle of the pandemic, what was our governor doing? Well, he was signing the most restrictive abortion bill in the entire country. Then, at a time when our murder rate has never been higher, he's signing a bill to allow anyone to carry a firearm on their hip, just like it's the Wild Wild West. After that is a bill to bring back firing squads. Even a bill, listen, I'm not kidding, even a bill to allow Donald Trump to be buried on the State House grounds in South Carolina. That's where their focus was. That's what he was working on. But look, all that was coming in, and I remember my dad said, like, you go where the need is, Joe. You go where the need is, whether that be in life or in politics. And it became very apparent that the need was right here in our own backyard. And so after months of thinking and praying on this, I launched my campaign for governor. Because this is an election of the past versus the future. Our governor embodies the past, and I want to be the governor of the future. Right. So I want to take a minute of your time tonight to tell you what my vision of the future is for South Carolina. What I think we can be. First of all, we got to pay our teachers more. They need a raise. Look, this is my oldest brother teaches special ed in a public high school, and after he leaves work, he goes and works in a grocery store. And then on the weekends, he's bartending. And his story's not uncommon. There are teachers across this state that work second jobs, third jobs. They bartend. They may drive buses, not together. But they tutor, they coach, they love and care for our kids. And after all of that, they're still required to come out of pocket for school supplies. So time's come in our state to not only give our teachers a raise, but a significant raise, a meaningful one. But on my very first day as governor, my first act will be expand Medicaid here in South Carolina. And look, this is going to provide health care to 200,000 South Carolinians. 200,000 of our neighbors, friends, family members. This is a matter of compassion. This is a moral issue for us and for our state. But it's also an economic issue. Because this is an act that will save our rural hospitals in South Carolina. It'll create 40,000 new jobs. It'll inject billions of dollars into the economy. And it just isn't about the people who Medicaid is expanded to. It's also about everyone. Because in states where Medicaid is expanded, cost of private insurance goes down. Everyone saves money because it expands the pool. And that's the point of it. That's why 38 other states, Democrat and Republicans, have already done it. We have to look to the future. We have to think big, like on infrastructure. South Carolina has $745 structurally deficient bridges in our state. 745. Yeah, you got to ask yourself, like, do I know where those bridges are? Did I drive across one today? Yeah. Is my son or my kids, my grandkids, are they on the road right now? This isn't just a matter of traffic and sitting at traffic. This is a life safety issue. You know, I think about it when I strap my 3.5-year-old son in the backseat of my car. It's about the precious cargo that we're carrying with us and whether or not they can get safely from point A to point B. We have a governor who vetoed a bill that would have fixed our infrastructure because he's living in the past. And I want to take us into the future. And I'm talking about every issue, including voting rights. Right now, you know, our governor wants to make it really easy to vote for people who look like him, and then really difficult for people who don't. I'll tell you what I believe in. I believe we need automatic voter registration. I believe we need same-day voter registration. I think we need to expand absentee voting. I think we need to end straight ticket voting and end gerrymandering once and for all. And look, when I'm governor, I'm going to lead the charge to end what's known as Confederate Memorial Day and replace it by making Election Day a state holiday here in South Carolina. This is about keeping everybody safe, though, including common sense gun safety reform. That's why I was proud to co-sponsor and pass a bill in the U.S. House of Representatives that closed the Charleston loophole. Yes. If you start a background check for a firearm, you have to finish the background check. That's common sense. But we also need expanded background checks. We also need to invest in community programs for gun safety. Medical University of South Carolina has one that identifies victims of gun violence, potential victims of gun violence. You know, people come in a victim of domestic abuse, trying to figure out how to get them out of that situation and how to better their lives. It's about taking care of our neighbors, our community. It's also about economic empowerment as well. And right now we got a governor who's giving out tax incentives to, you know, big out-of-state corporations that promise us the world, promise us all the good jobs, and then fail to deliver on that promise. You've seen stories about it. And I don't have a problem with giving tax incentives to out-of-state companies so long as they deliver on what they promise, on good-paying jobs. But if we're providing those incentives to out-of-state companies, I think we should provide those same incentives to in-state companies, small businesses, minority-owned businesses, women-owned businesses, veteran-owned businesses. They want to grow right here in South Carolina. I also think we need to continue looking towards the future. Now, I believe that includes ending the prohibition on marijuana. I talked to a lot of, look, I see this as an issue of compassion. I can't tell you, I served the last 2 years on the Veterans Affairs Committee. I talked to a Marine who had a limb blown off by a roadside bomb in Iraq. And he says that every night he relives that tragedy. Can't go to sleep. And the only thing that allows him to sleep at night is the use of marijuana. We all know somebody who may have a chronic illness, may suffer from pain, and that's the only thing that can provide them with relief. People who don't want to fill the prescription for opioids because they don't want to become addicted or be another statistic, and they want an alternative. But it's also about the tax revenue that could be generated. They could fix some of our problems, like paying our teachers more, fixing our infrastructure. These are solutions that can be implemented. But we can only do this, these things, if we win next November. And to do that, we've got to put our best foot forward. And I'd submit to you that I have the best chance at beating Henry McMaster next November. And I look around, I see we agree on most, not all these issues. And y'all probably think I was here 4 years ago saying the same thing, that I was agreeing with the candidate. Okay, Joe, I'm with you. How do we do it? We're in South Carolina. How's the Democrat win? Right? How's the Democrat win statewide in South Carolina? Let's just call out the elephant in the room. Well, here, I want you to walk out tonight. If nothing else, knowing that we can win statewide in South Carolina. I'm going to give you a few reasons why I can win statewide. First of all, I've won tough races before, and I can sure as hell do it again. In 2018, flipped the district, no one thought we could win. Nobody thought we could win. But we did it. At that time, the 1st Congressional District of South Carolina was ranked as Republican plus 10, an R plus 10 district. The state right now is Republican plus 8. If we can flip an R plus 10 district, we can flip an R plus 8 state. Also, look, midterms are so much better for Democrats in South Carolina. They just are. You know, I know that we think back to 2020 as the last statewide race, and, you know, I was disappointed with Jamie's race. We all were. I was disappointed with my own race. I was disappointed with a lot, as Joel said, a lot of good Democrats, you know, got swept out. But we cannot compare 2022 to 2020. That's like comparing apples and oranges. Presidential election years and midterms are so much different. If you want to talk about a governor's race, if you want to make a comparison for a governor's race, let's compare 2022 to 2018, where James Smith, the Democratic nominee, got 46% of the vote statewide. 46% statewide. Now, in my congressional district in 2018, I ran 3.5 points better than James Smith. Add 3.5 points to 46 statewide, and it's dead heat. We're neck and neck. Also, governor's races. Governor's races are so much different than federal races. They just are. You know, they're less partisan. They're more local. I mean, think about states like Kentucky and Kansas and Louisiana. What do they have in common? They're Republican states with Democratic governors. And what about, you know, Maryland and Massachusetts and New Hampshire? What are those? They're Democratic states with Republican governors. This happens all across the country. It can happen right here in South Carolina. It's not going to be easy. I didn't drive all the way up here to mislead you and sugarcoat things. You know, but it's why we got out early. It's why we launched a 46 county tour where we go to every single corner of this state. No matter how red or how rural, you know, or how forgotten certain counties may have felt by this governor, because our South Carolina comeback is going to include everyone. We're bringing everyone along with us. And it's going to be a fight. It's going to be a fight. I'm not going to tell you any different. But I think back to the greatest fighter ever. Greatest fighter ever. Who was it? Muhammad Ali. I was on campus at Carolina yesterday, and I asked a group of students that. And I heard Mike Tyson. I was like, no. I felt really old then. Muhammad Ali, best fighter ever. And I'll never forget a story a friend of mine told me. We saw him years ago, and he was so excited. He ran across the street to go up to him, and went up to him and said, Ali, you know, you're the champ, man. You're the best that's ever been. I'm a huge fan, big fan. You know, I've only ever seen you down once in my life. And Muhammad Ali stopped him. And he said, look, he said, you ain't ever seen me down. I was either up or I was getting up. And look, I share that with y'all tonight because, you know, look, I know this last couple of years have been tough. You know, for everyone in their own specific way with COVID. I recognize that. And I know the last few election cycles as Democrats have been tough too. But I'm here tonight to remind you that we are never, ever down. In fact, we're just getting up. Y'all ready to get up and win November 2022? My name's Joe Cunningham, and I'm running to be your next governor. Thank you all so much for being here tonight. Appreciate it.
All right, the candidate will take some, I don't need this. The candidate will take some questions if you have one, yes?
Thank you for coming. What I'm going to ask you is something that I think about when a lot of young women are looking for a Democratic seat. Jamie Harrison lost, not because he didn't have money. He had money.
Carolyn Louder.
Okay. He had money, he had exposure, he was on TV, he was on the news. What he did not have was the votes necessary to come out of this state. I was at a meeting on Zoom And a gentleman from the South Carolina Democratic Party